What's up? What's up, everyone? Carmine Dinisco here. The Shark Tank Effect. We got an awesome show planned. Actually, we got a great season coming up. We got a lot of Shark Tank people, a lot of Shark Tank winners, the stories, the products, and what's happening now. But let me bring on the man himself, the king of manufacturing, Shark Tank winner, Mr. Christopher Guerrera. What's up,
All
man?
right. How's it going? Hey, we got a pretty cool guest on today. But before we jump into that, let's just talk about our show coming up, the bigger one, right? The
Oh,
Super Zoo. So
super
we're looking
zoo.
for pet products, and our guest that'll be on the show is going to be with us as well. And this will be the first time he'll get a chance to be on our pitch panels, and he'll get a chance to see how much fun it is. And like I keep saying, that beach party, you can't miss it.
You better stop talking about this beach party. Holy smokes. Jesus. Super Zoo is huge. I didn't realize how big the pet product industry is until you start talking about Super Zoo. We're talking about wall to wall products, new stuff out there, obviously, stuff that's out there all the time. But there's a lot of people going to the show, and we need products. We need people to bring new products, innovative products to this show.
Yeah, we're going to do a hunt, what we call it a hunt, right? We're going to not just hunt for new products. I already sold out 100 booths. So all the spaces are sold out, but we'll also have opportunities beside the booth sales to have entrepreneurs and inventors from the outside just come in for the show and pitch to our panels. But the beauty of this is it's not just, let's say, for the inventor, we can also marry them and match them with the large brand companies.
Yep.
That's the beautiful thing about our hunt, is it matches with the products against the large brand companies. So
Yep.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. And we're just going to release, I think all of the marketing stuff gets released this week. And
Yeah.
it's on August 16th and 17th. We'll have the stage, and they'll get a chance to pitch to all of our Shark Tank winners and QVC, HSN, All-Star products. Dara's going to be there, one of our favorites from Shark Tank and Disney and ABC. She works
Yeah.
with Joy Mangano, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yep. I agree.
Let's bring on our guest today. This I don't even know how to describe Nick, but let's describe it this way. I'll make it simple. He's an international world champion surfer. And when I say that, I'm not kidding. Because when I first met Nick, I was kidding with him about, hey, I heard a rumor that you're a surfer. And I'm thinking, okay, what kind of surfer? Right? He's like, and he's playing along with me, right? Having a little bit of fun. Then I got a chance to see his videos and his workout routines. I called him back and said, okay, you're a certified badass. Like, yeah, really like he said, yeah, I have 2 championships. So let's bring Nick on. Nic Lamb, glad to have you, buddy.
Yeah, happy to speak with you guys today. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so let's talk about you a little bit. I want our audience to hear about your background, because I know someone like Mike Watts. I talked to Mike about you. He's a surfer. Showed all the videos to my kids, to my wife, to my friends. They're like, wow. And I always tell them the joke that I made. Yeah, okay, I'll take a look at your videos. I'll decide what kind of surfer you really are. It's like, next in back just letting me fall into the hole. So let's talk about that a little bit, Nick. Let's talk about like who you are. Like you've been doing this stuff for a long time, outside of being an entrepreneur and an inventor, which we'll get into that in a minute on your product, the IceBeanie. Like, how did you get involved with all that? That's some serious stuff, you know. I look at your workout routines, and man, they are incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Environment, really, that's what it really boils down to, environment. So, little background on me. I came from nothing. I was born in Northern California, Santa Cruz. My father's from overseas, middle class, working class family. I started surfing at the age of 5. College wasn't for me, so I traveled instead. Professional athletic background, California state champion, back-to-back Spain champion, Rincon Classic champion, Mavericks champion. And I grew up in a tough environment, and that it was very rich in surfing culture, and that's kind of what shaped me for the person I am today.
So, how do you get to that level? I guess, man. I look at, like, I've been around a lot of athletes. I've been around some professional baseball players, and it's a commitment to your life, right? I mean, I think about even my kids playing sports. If I had gotten them a personal trainer, or if I had gotten them a tutor for school, I mean, all day long, Division I athlete. But there's a lot of work that goes involved. I can't even imagine like the level of what goes into surfing. Like playing the game of baseball, you pick yourself up and you go home. I'm not trying to minimize that, but surfing is a whole nother level. It's a high risk. I mean, you can really get seriously hurt. more times than not.
Yeah, absolutely. The risk is very high for what we do, but what can I say? I like to go fast and I like to risk it all, but it really boils down to environment, right? You become the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And at a young age, I was dropped into the Santa Cruz surfing culture. Like I said, that has a very rich history in surf culture, and a lot of really large names came out of Santa Cruz, and I was just thrust into that environment as a kid, just absorbing data collection, watching these guys surf every single day, spending time in the water, putting the time in every single day, hours and hours for decades. They say 10,000 hours, I would double that. I'd say 20,000 hours to try to reach a level of mastery. But at the end of the day, it's just trying to continue to be the best version of yourself and improve day in and day out, and really try to, get 1% better every single day.
Mm-hmm. So how about now? Are you still competing, or is it more of a pastime? I think about me as I get old. I have a mind that still wants to compete, but I know I can't hang with the young kids anymore.
No, I'm definitely still competing. I compete on the Big Wave Tour, and so there's not many events. We run maybe 2 to 3 events a year because they are weather dependent. So they're very, very special events when they happen. But yeah, I'm definitely still competing. I train every single day, and we train to stay ready so we don't have to get ready.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I think that's the best way to do it. I always ask my youngest, "Are you ready to beat me in a 3-mile race?" And I would tell you at one time there's no way he could beat me in a 3-mile race. And now I watched him like just do this hike last week. Like I forget what he told me. He did like 15 miles. I'm like, okay, maybe I should just stop talking. I don't think I want to challenge him anymore. I think he's reached that level. So okay, you got all this going on. You've got this entrepreneur skill, right? This whole inventor mindset. You came up with a pretty cool product, which I absolutely love, called the IceBeanie. How did that get born, and did it come from surfing?
Yeah, it actually did come from surfing. But funny enough, like I've always kind of had the entrepreneurial spirit since I was a kid. I mean, I bought my first car when I was 14 for $100, and I drove it for 4 years throughout high school, ended up crashing it on my own property, and then sold it for 700. So I've kind of always had that ability to kind of spot opportunity in the marketplace. But yeah, the background on IceBeanie is pretty crazy. Like a few years ago, while I was surfing Nazare, the biggest wave in the world, in the final of the Nazare Challenge, I slipped and fell on a giant 60-foot plus wave and sustained a pretty bad concussion. I remember, like, for weeks and months after that, I had terrible post-concussion migraine headaches. And I've always taken a very holistic approach, not wanting to take any medication or any pills. And I wanted to find a natural solution for my head pain. So I remember leaving the gym one day thinking, we're taught to ice our scrapes and bruises growing up. Why don't we ice our head? So I put pen to paper and drew a few versions of ice packs inside a beanie, and what has now become IceBeanie. I remember I started with $10,000 of my own money and turned it into a multi 7-figure business within 36 months. But I remember thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna invest this $10,000 into inventory, and I'm either going to fail and get a $10,000 lesson, or I'll find some success. So I kind of framed it in a win or learn situation.
Which is pretty cool. I think that's a really great approach. I hear so many people come up with an idea and they think so far advanced that it's going to be the next $1 million, $10 million item without focusing what's in front of them. I think that, you got to have those stepping blocks to get to those levels. And it's great to want to be a 10 million, 50 million, $100 million company, but you have to achieve what's right in front of you first. So I'd love to hear that. How did you put the science into some of this? You must have done some testing, right? You must have some science testing behind it, and looked at like ways of reducing the swelling, or so how did you go about doing all that?
Yeah, so we've known for quite some time the benefits of hot and cold therapy. Cold therapy is incredible for the body. A lot of people do cold baths. I mean, I have a cold bath here in my garage. It really helps with lowering inflammation, and it increases dopamine, and it makes you feel amazing. And I was just like, why don't we have something where we can ice our head? So that was the genesis of the idea for IceBeanie. And the first few versions weren't that great, and I'm always trying to continually improve the product and get customer feedback and make iterations, because that's really what it is, right? Business is two things: innovation and marketing. And I think everything I do is not that great, so I'm always trying to be a little bit better. And so fast forward to today, we are at a point now where we have gotten the product to where we're pretty satisfied, and we're actually transitioning over into IceBeanie 2.0, which is a proprietary gel tech. I work with a chemist to where it stays very cold for a significant amount of time while providing that compression cold therapy. And there's a heating component too, so you can freeze it and heat it. And so we're super excited about that. IceBeanie 2.0 launches this summer, and we're expanding into Japan. So it's been a wild ride. We've been super blessed.
Wow, I love hearing that. Okay, so now you've got a product. It was selling. You liked it, and somewhere you said, I need to get some traffic. I need people to know about it. I need people to see it. Then Shark Tank, right? Shark Tank came up on the screen. What led you to Shark Tank?
Always been a huge fan of the show, right? Who doesn't love the show? I think it's so incredible how it adds so much value to the economy and teaches young entrepreneurs to really get out there and get after it and create something of value. Go out and add some service and value to your country, create a good and service into the real economy, because that's what real value is. I think a lot of people are confused about what real value is, and it really comes down to goods and services. So I've just always been a huge fan of the show. I've watched every single episode. And I remember it, funny enough, like leaving the gym again too. I was in the gym, and I'm like, man, it'd be so cool to go on that show, but I didn't put too much thought into it. And so I remember I just filled out the online application like anyone can, and really forgot about it. And then a few weeks later, I got an email back, and it said Shark Tank in the subject line. And I remember just like feeling so excited. And I mean, as you know, the process is very grueling. Like, I got a response back, and they said, hey, we're interested. We're looking at your product. We would like to continue the conversation. And you end up having to go through like 5, 6, 7 rounds of pre-vetting testing. And the whole time you're progressing, they're telling you, okay, you're going to make it to the next stage, but you might not get invited to come and pitch. And, or if you do pitch, it might not air. And so they kind of string you along. And this process took like 15 months of them doing that. And this was in the middle of COVID too. So it was arguably the most difficult time I would claim ever.
You're on season 12, right?
Yeah, season 12, episode 13.
Yeah, okay. So you're in the same season as me.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it was crazy. So cool. Like we go through that process, and that whole process you have to keep silence. You can't tell anyone.
Right.
And we kept continuing through the process and making it to the next round. And all the while they're telling you like you're progressing, right? So you're happy and you're excited, but they're really keeping you at bay, going like, you're progressing, but you might not air. And if you do get to pitch, it might not air, all that. So they're keeping you at bay. And I remember we were lucky enough to go and get the invite to go and pitch. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm just going to really practice really hard and, hopefully land a deal. And, because you were on the COVID season, they were testing us, and they had to quarantine us in a hotel. We had to sit in a hotel alone for a week, couldn't open the windows, couldn't get sunlight. That was really challenging for me. It's funny, I was joking around. It was like a white collar prison cell, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't really like that part of the process. It was very stressful to be locked in a room by yourself, having people come in with masks, test you, and all the while thinking like, if you test positive, all that last 18 months was for nothing. You're going straight home. Sorry, you can't pitch. Better luck next time. And so all this stress is mounting. And then on top of that, you're trying to run the business, right? The business was going well. We had done 6 figures in sales our first year. And so I was really trying to balance and stay like disciplined and focused on where I was allocating my bandwidth while still trying to continue working on my health. I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats inside the hotel room again. It was like a white collar prison room. But anyways, it was stressful, like all the testing and everything. And I remember we made it through first round of testing to even leave the hotel room. Okay, cool. So it's like, all right, check. We got past that. And then you go downstairs, and so they wanted me to surf into the tank because it had never been done before. And I'm like, all right, you know how it is. You work with the producers. It's a give and take. It's a show. And so they wanted me to surf into the tank somehow. So they got me an electric skateboard. I'd never ridden it before. It has a trigger on it to where you had to be very, very sensitive on how hard you pulled the trigger. Otherwise, I would have shot up off the stage and landed on Mr. Wonderful's lap had I pressed it too hard.
Because he's the first one you see when you get down there.
Yeah, they gave me one try on the skateboard when no one was there, and I was like, okay, I think I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think this will work. And you know just as well as anyone, you only get one shot to pitch. And if you mess it up, sorry, the cameras keep rolling and it's bring out the next pitch.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, I remember just telling myself, like, these are just people. They have the same feelings you have. They've been in a situation similar to this and they were able to do it. Why not me? You know? And I remember I pulled the trigger just enough going through the hall. I landed on my mark, and there's that moment where they tell you to wait for 30 seconds while they get the B-roll. And it's very odd for anyone who doesn't or hasn't experienced that, because you basically, it's like meeting someone and then waiting a minute, just staring at them before you talk. And then they tell you pitch. And luckily enough, I, had practiced a pitch enough to where it came out all right. And I was able to get multiple offers. And I knew that I either wanted Damon or Cuban, and not so much Robert, because the research I had done on Robert, which this is really key, he's not a big deal closer. So I think it's really important to do your research and your due diligence on your audience before going and pitching, and really figuring out which investor is best for you and your business, because they all have different skill sets and different backgrounds. So any advice I'd give to a young entrepreneur that's going to pitch, do your due diligence on the investor. And so I remember Robert came with an offer that was double Cuban's, right? He offered me double the amount of money that Cuban offered me, but I had already said yes to Cuban's offer. And there's a little controversy. I don't know if you guys remember the episode, but they almost wanted me to go back on my offer and go for the higher dollar amount. But I believe your word is your bond, and I'm a man of my word, and things that I say I'm going to do, I do them, and I take that very seriously. And so it wasn't about the dollar amount for me. It was about the connection and building with someone as valuable and who's such a prolific investor like Mark Cuban. And it's like, at the end of the day, that is worth so much more than a few extra dollars in your bank account. And we closed the deal with Cuban, and it's been a wild ride ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, it's come on, you've heard some of these stories, right? But like the white collar, I love that, because I said there's two things I can't do. I know for sure now I'll never be a criminal, so I can't be locked in a room. And I definitely am not an actor.
Exactly.
I can't act.
Wow.
I remember saying that pitch, and me and Judy were in separate rooms. So everything we were doing was through Zoom. But I remember saying that pitch every morning. I would wake up in the middle of the night saying it. I would in the afternoon, and I was trying to act, and where I was throwing stuff, I had to land on a garbage can. I'm like, oh my God, I just wanted it to be done. It was like 10 days of, like you said, it was like pure hell. By the fifth day, I never thought I'd feel that way, Nick. By the fifth day, I said, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, I know I have to.
Wow. It's crazy.
No, exactly. I felt the exact same way. It was a testament to how much stress you're really able to put yourself under, and I feel like some of the best entrepreneurs, we can just eat stress. You know what I mean? Like, I think your income is in proportion to how much stress you can put on your shoulders. And when your back's against the wall, can you perform? And I think it really comes down to conviction and consistently working on yourself and practicing. Yeah, like you, I practiced that pitch hundreds of times. I even rallied a group of people at a WeWork office, and I was like, can I get you guys in a room? I just want to pitch you, and then I want feedback. So I think it's anyone who's looking to get on the show, do that. Don't just pitch your family, go pitch strangers and get that honest feedback, and have that humility to ask for feedback. What can I do better? What did you like? Take notes. I also watched every episode twice and took notes. So I just wanted to make sure when you have an opportunity like that, luck favors the prepared, and there wasn't anything I wasn't going to do to be as prepared as possible to execute.
Yeah, I think you're right too. The partner is really important. Like, I've been fortunate, both Judy and I, to have Damon. I mean, he's just a good dude. Like, I've done things outside of the Shark Tank arena. It just makes you feel like you're part of his family. and he's been, if I need anything, I've always have that access to him. And I think that part of a good partner is just that, right? Is being able, I don't need money from somebody. I need some guidance, some mentoring, right? Someone who's been down the road and done it and understands it. And I think, like you said, and there is a lot of truth to what you said about Robert not closing deals. There's a lot of truth to that. 'Cause I know some folks who closed with Robert, got a deal with Robert. He didn't even call them. Like, so they never closed a deal. These people were going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So just for clarification for anyone listening who doesn't understand the process, there's a deep vetting process up front before you even get approved to go and pitch. They want to make sure you're not lying, obviously, and that you don't have some sort of criminal background, which is good. I think it's important. Which I'm sure they probably have some stories of the past when they didn't do that. Maybe let some people on the show they shouldn't have. I'd love to see those outtakes. But so at the end of the deal, it's basically a handshake deal. And then their team come in and they do a deep vetting process and they do their due diligence on you, again, with even more background checks. And so they really, really dive deep into whether what you said was factually true. And I knew that, obviously, and I wasn't going to go in and lie about anything. It's like, these are some of the most prolific investors in our current economic landscape. So I was very honest, as I always am. And so I was welcoming to that back end due diligence. But yeah, just learning from other entrepreneurs who have gotten a deal with a handshake deal with Robert. He doesn't close his deals. He has a very low deal closure percentage rate. And I'm not interested in working with someone like that, because it appears that he's on there more for show. But hey, I like him. I think he's great on the show, but at the end of the day, it's business. And I wanted to close a deal with a serious partner, and he just wasn't the right fit. So Damon would have been awesome because of his background. And he seems like a really, really awesome guy to work with. I know he owns a bunch of gyms and stuff. So that would have been cool. Maybe there's some synergies down the road there, because we would love to work with Damon.
Well, I'm sure there is. I mean, I still work with him, and he's really a great individual. I told Carmine, I've been on board meetings of Ford Motor Company, board meetings in Germany, right, with BMW. And this was the most unique experience, only because it was like, 10 days in a room. I had enough. Like, I wanted to go. Let's go. Then you do your pitch. You're getting hit with a million questions from every angle, and you're trying to answer them. And they did a great job on our episode of editing it to make it look extremely entertaining. But it was a different pitch. It was very different than what I have done. Like, being on, like you said, you make a mistake, that's it. You're on. I mean, and then we had our airing party, and Carmine was there for it, and all my kids. I had about 88 people there, and you don't know what they're going to air. You're seeing it for the first time. I can remember my youngest, who's the cocky one in the family. He looks at me and said, "How did you do that? How did you pull that off? I would have literally fainted on the stage." I said, "You find out about yourself. That's it." I said, wow. And then I took him to Good Morning America and pitched live on Good Morning America to Brandy. She had no idea. So he got a chance to see two sides of it. Like, one, really the business aspect, and then kind of keeping a secret for a while, then going on national TV and proposing. And the truth for me is always at the end, he rates me, right? Man, you knocked it out of the park. I can't believe it. That's the true value, is having kids watch you do that and really soak it all up and use it in their own lifestyle, their own ways. It's been
that's awesome.
Great.
What an inspiration you got to be to your kids, seeing you actually go and do that and have that conviction to go and execute like that. I mean, I feel like we learn from watching. I mean, kids, I feel like they learn from watching their parents, not listening to what they say, right? So I mean, hats off to you for doing that, Chris. That's incredible. But yeah, it's funny. It was so stressful, that whole process, where I was such a huge fan of the show. Now I can't even watch the show anymore. I don't even watch it anymore, which is crazy.
And to think about and Carmine, to think about Nick, right? There's a dude that's surfing on these waves that could literally break his back. I mean, literally. Yeah. And then hearing him talk about Shark Tank. I mean, Carmine's heard these stories from me. I have a hard time watching it. You're right.
It is. It's amazing.
So stressful. It was so intense.
Nick, real quick. I mean, do you think that, and being as competitive and being in the competitions that you're in, do you think that some of that has helped you, jump on that show and say, man, I've been through some pretty stressful stuff, and obviously this was big, but still, do you think the competitions that you've entered helped?
No, absolutely, Carmine. It really taught me to, like, if you put in that hard work and you show up day in and day out and you're constantly trying to be the best version of yourself, you know, I'm always willing to bet on myself every day of the week. And I've learned that when you do that, good things come out of it, you know. So it's something that was a very incredible experience. Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot through my professional surfing career to just, you know, you put in the work, show up, bet on yourself, and you'll find success.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
You know what's
I love
great,
that.
Chris, is that when Nic said that, and I think he said he was on a 60-foot wave and hit his head. I just hoping that people caught that. It wasn't a 6-foot wave, it was a 60-foot wave.
Well, it goes back to me when I first met him. Like, okay, what's he doing? These little body surfs.
But
And then I saw the videos.
Yeah.
It's like, they're like 9 stories.
he said it, but he said it like, oh yeah, I hit my head. You know, like, I was on the side of the Empire State Building.
Yeah. No kidding, man. That's some serious stuff. And again, if you don't know who Nic is, look him up. Right? I'm not kidding. And watch his videos. It's there. And I've been playing competitive sports my whole life. When I saw those waves, I'm like, there's no way in the world I could ever even attempt anything like that. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Nic, we get out of the Shark Tank, right? We get out of the tank now, right? And these are some of the great benefits. But talk about that a little bit. But look, I didn't know you before that, right? We met at a reunion. Network is so powerful now. I think I have 75, 80 Shark Tank companies I work with. You're going to be one of them now. It's amazing. I love it. And you're just a good dude. And now they continue to do stuff with you and other entrepreneurs. Talk about that a little bit, how cool that is.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I'd say aside from the Shark Tank effect, just meeting all the other entrepreneurs and getting in that group and that network of all the other fellow entrepreneurs has honestly been the second largest value add. I've learned so much from the group and just speaking with you and other like-minded people, that how important the power of the network is behind this. You know, it's like, it's a group of like-minded professionals, and we've all gone through the ringer there, the Shark Tank ring of fire, and came out the other side. And it's really cool, man. I've learned a lot, and I'm just trying to continue to have, like, you know, the white belt mentality and continue learning, because I think you can learn something from anyone.
I absolutely agree. So how about after you aired? Carmine was with us when we aired, right? How was that like? We had orders that were, I mean, I was showing my phone. It was like a Rolodex. It was just flipping. It's crazy.
Yeah,
with that effect.
It was crazy. I remember the night it aired, I just went over to my phone, and my phone was buzzing. It had like 100% battery, and like within a few minutes, the thing was just getting drained because it was just Shopify and freaking so many orders. My phone was just going ding, 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 like crazy for hours. For hours. I remember I had to go down to the beach and I had to go walk on the strand, and like I was just by myself for a while, and I'd like look at my phone, and the thing was just buzzing like crazy. It was wild. I mean, of course, we immediately sold out, and some stressful things that happened actually at that time. There was just so happened to have 100-year storm in Texas, where our 3PL is, when orders were placed. And so we had a bunch of customers that were like, hey, what's going on? Where's our order? Because it was delayed because of the storm. I'm talking businesses were shut down, roads were closed, no one was shipping anything. It was a very stressful time. Like, it was crazy. Sorry, someone was just walking up, but yeah, it was crazy. So that was nuts. We had to overcome that one, but that was a wild
crazy ice storm, right? They had that ice storm for the first time. People's pipes were burst in, and nobody was ready for the temperatures. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
100-year storm that day.
That day.
That's what happens, though. That's how it always works out. It always happens like that.
It does. I swear. It was super stressful, but we got through it. We
had the benefit of, we had our airing party in New Hampshire, where our plant is. And when we aired, so Amazon sold out, like, I think it was 1,000 units in 3 hours. And we sold probably another 5,000, I think I had 3,500 in stock for a Menards order that I said, yeah, by the way, Menards, we're not sending it to you. We're going to use it for our own good. And we put the tool back in and we're able to run. We had set it up. So we didn't miss a beat, but it took I think it took us like 7 days to get caught up and fill the order because they were coming in so hard. And we were shipping out a ton. And it's just amazing the power of the audience. What a large audience viewing, because you get the East Coast and you get the West Coast. And then I think we aired 2 or 3 more times in the summer because we closed season 12. Then we aired again in the summer. Then obviously it goes to CNBC. It airs more. Like that power of an audience is insane. I mean, true Shark Tank effect. It's been crazy, And we had Mindy at our last show, the Inspired Home Show. We had really great setup. We had standing room only. Our area was hopping, and Mindy showed up. Mindy and
that's awesome.
Casting. They absolutely loved it. They stayed around, talked to everybody, and who knows if something may happen in for next year's season, we might be able to do some some pre-casting for them. I think we're set up properly to do that, right? To really show you how to pitch and really
look that's very cool.
Best of the best. Yeah. So it's been great. And you'll get a chance to see that with Super Zoo. We'll get you plugged into that. And the cool thing about all that is everybody gets to hang out. It's a lot of fun. Like what you see, what the effect of having like minds together. Everyone enjoys each other's company. We hang out outside of the show. And it's been great. I mean, what better place than Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Place to hang out.
That sounds amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool that you guys are doing that, to create that environment to kind of foster that entrepreneurship, and to any kids that are listening to something like this and you got an idea, you got to just go for it. Just jump in and reach out to people like me or Chris, because we're more than willing to help. I love helping anyone who's actually trying to go for it and put in that work and produce some sort of value or service to the real economy. I love that. So those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think our feedback from the inventor community is incredible, because think about it. Like in Inspire, Aaron Krause, who's a friend of mine, Scrub Daddy, and Judy Edwards from Squatty Potty, Kelly Higney, like some really big names, big growth companies. They're on the stage giving them feedback, right? So think about, where could you meet someone like that? You can't just call up Aaron. Where can you have an environment where you can pitch to Dara, right? Dara started Shark Tank and Disney. Right, these are some Marcy McKenna, really big names that are connected in the industry. We give them a chance to actually show them their product and get positive feedback. And as Carmine always says, we usually get some deals. Like some of these guys, like All Star Products that do licensing, they'll do deals with them. Home Depot at Hardware Show did some deals. It's a good environment, and feedback has been overwhelming. And so now we're getting a lot of opportunity with some big shows, and we'll hit the colleges, and we'll keep it going. We'll do the Modern Inventor Tour. That's what we're going to start calling.
Yes. I love that. Keep it going. What is this? Is this your second one or third one?
No, we did earlier in the first quarter. We did back to back to back. We did PGA, we did the Hardware, and Inspired. That almost killed me. I'm not kidding. That was a lot. Tired. Those back to back to back were tough. Then we got a little bit of a break. Then we just had a couple of things going on now. Then we have Lawn and Garden one. There's a Cosmo Prof coming up, but the Super Zoo is the next really big platform that we're gonna have a stage and do it for a large audience. And then there's Toy Fair, and there's a couple other ones brewing for October, and then it starts all over again. We're talking CES now, so we'll see. But it's definitely growing, and Carmine's like, What are we going to do with all this? Because some of these are back to back to back next year. They're like back to back in January, back to back in March, like within a week.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty crazy. Nick, do you get the Shark Tank effect? Do you get recognized more for surfing or for Shark Tank, or is it combining now? Or it depends on where you are?
At surfing still for sure. But yeah, it's funny. I've had a lot of people reach out and say that they saw us on Shark Tank. But yeah, so far it's still been the surfing thing.
Yeah, I believe it. Have you seen?
Man, that's the first thing that pops up. That 60-foot wave.
What I like about Nick, what you're doing.
Fast.
Nick, what I like about what you're doing too is, Chris and I, we talk a lot about, keeping healthy, keeping your brain healthy, keeping your mind clear, and things like that. Do you feel, and I'm sure you do, that being healthy and eating right and exercising, does it help you with making decisions and doing these types of things when you're under that stress?
Excellent question. And I would say, man, health is everything. Health is everything. If you want your body to be working at the highest level, you have to invest into your health. And a few free tips that anyone can do: try to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep. When you wake up in the morning, drink good purified water, get direct morning sunlight. That helps reset your circadian rhythm. Walk barefoot. There's a lot of benefits in grounding to help lower depression, anxiety, stuff like that. So eat good, organic, whole foods based foods. You know what I mean? Like, just those are some things that anyone can do that are free. And optimizing your health is definitely a high priority for me, for sure. And it definitely helps with decision making.
There you go, Chris. I mean, can't get better than that.
As I get older, all those things, some of those are easy, but others are a lot harder to do. I'm not kidding. I'm gonna send you a picture of my son Tyler when we're done. You can see he's working out jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's doing all the mountain climbing now, which it makes me feel good, because I've been playing competitive sports, and it's a funny story, Nick. At the very end, when I sold my house, I had a Lakers sport court in the back of my house, and we played. I mean, I lived there for 13 years. All the high school kids would come there, and I was happy to give every one of them a beat down, always, right? I'm not losing on my court. And I never forget the last day we were leaving, and Tyler shows up, and he's still, I mean, he's not like he is now. I'm pretty sure he'd hammer me inside now. I said, Tyler, one last chance, one last try. He looked at me, he looked at the court and said, no, I'm done. I think you got me. I said, well, I'm going to talk shit the rest of my life, just so you know. I'm still talking shit.
You're still going strong, baby. Let's go.
All right. Well, Nick, I really appreciate the insight, man. You're a good dude. I look forward to working with you more on some of the projects we got coming up. And thanks for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me on. Yeah, we're super excited about IceBeanie 2.0 launching. It's going to be used by the NBA, MLB, UFC athletes. We just expanded in Japan. So yeah, man, we're really excited. Thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I would just leave with a good quote: think for yourself, question everything, and give yourself permission to shine.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Hey, where can we find those ice beanies?
IceBeanie.com, baby. IceBeanie.com.
I love it. And there you go. You can't beat that. Listen, all you guys out there, I appreciate you listening. If you can, go on out, download the show, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, leave a rating for us. I thank Nick for being on, giving us some sound advice, some awesome stuff. Make sure you look for IceBeanie.com, the second version coming out. As usual, Ms. Christopher Guerrera, thanks for being on. And I'm Carmine Danisco. We will catch you next time. Shark Tank Effect. You all take care.